Before anything else, if you've ever felt like you're doing the right thing, but being seen as the wrong person, stay here. Because this moment, this exact tension, is where God does his deepest work. Welcome to Grace for Generations. Have you ever obeyed God? And it cost you your reputation? Have you ever stayed silent when you could have defended yourself? And people assumed you were guilty? Have you ever walked away from something God told you to leave? And the same people who once praised you now question you? There's a quiet kind of pain that comes with obedience. It's not loud like failure. It's not obvious like sin. It's subtle and heavy because you know you're aligned with heaven, but misunderstood on earth. And what makes it harder is that you can't always explain it. Because obedience is not always logical. Sometimes God will tell you to move without giving you a speech to defend yourself. Sometimes he will ask you to let go without giving you proof to show others. Sometimes he will keep you quiet while others are speaking loudly against you. And in that silence, something begins to happen inside you. You start questioning. Did I hear God right? Why is this happening if I obeyed? Why does it feel like obedience made things harder, not better? This is the place where many people turn back, not because they don't love God, but because they didn't expect obedience to feel like isolation. But listen carefully. There is a level of spiritual strength that can only be built when you are misunderstood. Not when people clap for you, not when your obedience is validated, but when heaven says, "Well done," and earth says, "You're wrong." That's where real authority is formed. Because at that point, your obedience is no longer dependent on people. It becomes rooted in trust, and trust is what moves God. There is a moment in your life where God allows misunderstanding, not to punish you, but to purify your motives. Because if everyone understood you, you might start living for their approval. If everyone agreed with you, you might never develop spiritual discernment. If everyone supported your obedience, you might never learn to stand alone with God. So sometimes, God will allow your obedience to look like a mistake in the eyes of others, just to see if you will still choose him when it costs you everything else. Think about it. There are people who will celebrate you when your obedience benefits them. But the moment your obedience separates you, they start questioning your character. And that's where the real test begins. Because now, it's no longer about what God said. It's about whether you trust what he said more than what people are saying. This is where faith becomes real. Because faith is not just believing God when it feels good. Faith is holding on when everything around you is contradicting what you heard. And if you're in that place right now, or your obedience has made you misunderstood, where your silence has made you look weak, where your separation has made you look prideful, I need you to understand something deeply. God is not confused about you. He's not sitting in heaven trying to figure out your intentions. He sees the nights you cried in private. He sees the decisions you made that no one else understands. He sees the restraint it took for you not to react. He sees the obedience you chose, even when it hurt. And heaven records differently than people. People record what they see. God records why you did it. And that changes everything. Because while people are judging your actions, God is honoring your obedience. And there is a reward that only comes from that place. But before that reward shows up externally, God will strengthen something internally. He will build a kind of stability in you, where you are no longer shaken by misunderstanding, where you no longer feel the need to explain yourself to everyone. where your peace is no longer dependent on being understood. That is spiritual maturity. That is authority. That is the place where your relationship with God becomes deeper than your relationship with people's opinions. But let's be honest, this process is not easy, because misunderstanding feels like rejection, and rejection touches something deep in the human heart. It makes you want to defend yourself. It makes you want to explain your side. It makes you want to prove that you're right. But sometimes, God will not allow you to defend yourself, not because you're weak, but because He is teaching you a higher way. There is a level of confidence where you no longer need to correct every misunderstanding, because you trust that God will reveal the truth in His time. And that kind of confidence cannot be taught with words. It is built through experience, through moments where you choose silence instead of reaction, through moments where you choose obedience instead of approval, through moments where you choose God, even when it costs you your image. And I know that's where some of you are right now. You did what God told you, but now people are looking at you differently. They don't understand your decision. They don't understand your distance. They don't understand your silence. And part of you wants to go back, just to be understood again. But if you go back, you won't just lose your position. You will lose the growth that came with your obedience. Because every step of obedience is building something in you. It's building resilience. It's building clarity. It's building spiritual authority. And authority is not given cheaply. It is formed in hidden places, where no one is clapping, where no one is validating, where no one is watching, except God. So don't rush out of this season. Don't try to fix what God is using. Don't try to explain what God is allowing. Instead, lean deeper into Him, because if God trusted you enough to lead you into this place, then He also trusts you to come out of it stronger. And here is something most people don't realize. Misunderstanding is often a sign that you are no longer living for people. Because when you live for people, you adjust your obedience to fit their expectations. But when you live for God, your obedience will sometimes disrupt their comfort. And disruption often looks like offense to those who don't understand it. So don't be surprised when your obedience creates distance. Because not everyone is meant to understand your assignment. Some people are only meant to witness your transformation. And transformation is not always comfortable to watch. It challenges people. It convicts people. It exposes differences. And instead of confronting themselves, they misunderstand you. But even in that, God is working. He is separating. He is refining. He is aligning. And what feels like loss is actually preparation. Because God will not build something strong through someone who still needs approval to function. He will build it through someone who has learned to stand with Him, even when standing alone. So if you feel alone right now, you are not abandoned. You are being strengthened. If you feel misunderstood right now, you are not rejected. You are being refined. If you feel silent right now, you are not voiceless. You are being taught to hear God more clearly. And in this place, something powerful begins to happen. Your dependence shifts from people to God, from validation to truth, from noise to clarity. And that shift changes everything. Because once you become anchored in God, misunderstanding no longer controls you. It may still hurt, but it won't move you. It may still come, but it won't define you. And that is where your strength begins to rise. Not loud strength, not visible strength, but deep, unshakable strength. The kind that doesn't break under pressure. The kind that doesn't collapse under opinion. The kind that doesn't run when misunderstood. The kind that stays. The kind that trusts. The kind that obeys. Anyway, and maybe that's the real question tonight. Can you still obey God? When no one understands you? Can you still trust Him? When it costs you your image? Can you still stand firm when everything in you wants to explain yourself? Because if you can, then you are stepping into a level of strength that most people never reach. And what you are building right now will not just sustain you, it will carry others. But before that happens, there is a moment where you have to choose again. Not once, not twice, but daily. To trust God over the need to be understood. And that choice is where your breakthrough begins. There is a moment, right after the silence, where everything inside you wants to break. Not because you are weak, but because you have carried too much without being seen. You obeyed. You stayed quiet. You walked away when God said to move. You held your peace when you could have defended yourself. And now, you're standing in a place where it feels like nothing is speaking for you. But this is where something shifts. Because there comes a point where God doesn't just watch your obedience. He begins to respond to it. And that response doesn't always come as explanation. It comes as strength. It comes as a deep, unexplainable confidence rising inside you. The kind that doesn't need validation. The kind that doesn't chase understanding. The kind that knows, even if no one else sees it. God does. And this is where we turn. Not into frustration, but into prayer. Not into reaction, but into authority. Because when you've been misunderstood for obeying God, you're standing on holy ground. And from that place, your voice carries weight. So wherever you are right now, I want you to settle your heart, not because everything is okay, but because God is still in control. Take a breath, because this prayer is not coming from a place of weakness. It's coming from a place of alignment. Father, I come before you, not to explain myself, but to align myself. You saw what I did. You heard what I heard. You know why I obeyed. Even when others misunderstood it, you understood it fully. And tonight, I refuse to carry the weight of being misunderstood as if it is my burden to fix. I release it. Every assumption made about me, every wrong judgment spoken over me, every silent accusation, I place it in your hands, because you are the God who sees beyond appearances. And right now, I choose to stand in that truth. Strengthen me, not to defend myself, but to remain steady in obedience. Strengthen me, not to prove my heart to people, but to remain pure before you. Strengthen me in the quiet places where no one claps, where no one understands, where no one sees the cost, but you do. And Father, where misunderstanding has tried to plant doubt, I uproot it. I will not question what you told me, just because others question me. I will not shrink back, just because I'm not being understood. I will not abandon obedience, just to regain approval, because my approval comes from you, and that is enough. Lord, heal the part of me that feels rejected, because I know this is not rejection, this is refinement. So I receive it. Without bitterness, I receive it. Without resentment, I receive it. Without needing to fight back. And in this moment, I take authority. Every voice that is speaking against my obedience. Whether seen or unseen, I silence its influence over my mind. Every thought that is trying to make me doubt what you said, I bring it under your truth. Every emotional weight that came from being misunderstood, I release it now. I will not carry what you did not place on me. And Father, where I have been silent, teach me the power of that silence. Let it not be weakness, but strength under control. Let it not be fear, but trust in your timing. Let it not be confusion, but clarity being formed in stillness. Because I know you are not ignoring what is happening. You are working in ways I cannot see. You are speaking in places I cannot reach. You are aligning things that I don't yet understand. So I trust you, not just in what I see, but in what you are doing behind the scenes. And tonight, I declare this over my life. I am not weakened by misunderstanding. I am strengthened by obedience. I am not defined by people's opinions. I am established by God's truth. I am not shaken by silence. I am anchored in His voice. I will not break in this season. I will rise through it. And everything this moment is building in me will not be wasted. It will become strength. It will become wisdom. It will become authority. And when the time comes, when you choose to reveal what was hidden, what was misunderstood, what was questioned, I will not stand there bitter. I will stand there whole, because this process is not just changing my situation. It is changing me, and that matters more. So I thank you for trusting me with this season. I thank you for strengthening me through it. I thank you for walking with me in the silence. And even now, I feel it shifting, not outside, but inside. Peace is rising, clarity is settling, strength is forming. And I know this is not the end of the story. This is the place where something new begins. So I remain, I trust, I obey, still, even here. And now, there is a quiet shift, not loud, not dramatic, but real. It's the kind of shift you don't announce. You become, because something has settled inside you. That pressure to explain yourself, it's loosening. That urgency to be understood, it's fading. That weight you were carrying, it's lifting. Not because everyone suddenly understands you, but because you no longer need them to. And this is where strength becomes visible. Not through noise, but through stability. You begin to notice it in small ways. The things that used to trigger you no longer move you. The opinions that used to shake you no longer define you. The silence that once felt heavy now feels peaceful because your foundation has shifted. You are no longer standing on people's understanding. You are standing on God's truth. And that changes how you move. You don't rush to defend anymore. You don't feel the need to correct every narrative. You don't chase clarity from people who were never meant to understand you. Instead, you rest, not in passivity, but in confidence. Because there is a confidence that comes when you know God is handling what you cannot. And this is the part many people miss. God does not always expose things immediately, not because He is slow, but because He is strategic. There are things He allows to remain hidden until the right moment, not just to reveal truth, but to reveal hearts. Because when misunderstanding surrounds you, it doesn't just test you, it reveals others. It shows who stands with truth and who stands with assumption, who seeks understanding and who settles for judgment. And in that process, God is not just defending you. He is separating what cannot go where you're going. So what feels like loss is actually protection. What feels like rejection is actually direction. What feels like silence is actually preparation. And when you begin to see it that way, something inside you aligns. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" And you start understanding, "This is working for me." Because every moment of misunderstood obedience is building a version of you that cannot be easily shaken. A version of you that does not collapse under pressure. A version of you that can carry weight without breaking. And that version of you is necessary for where God is taking you. Because where God is leading you, you won't always have explanations. You won't always have support. You won't always have people who understand your decisions. But you will have Him. And if you learn to trust Him here, you will be able to trust Him there. And that's why this moment matters. This quiet, stretching, uncomfortable moment is not random. It is preparation. It is alignment. It is strengthening. And here is the promise. God does not leave obedience unrewarded. He may not reward it in the way people expect, but He rewards it in ways that last. He rewards it with peace that cannot be shaken. He rewards it with clarity that cannot be confused. He rewards it with authority that cannot be taken. And when the time is right, He also has a way of making things clear, not always through explanation, but through revelation. There will be moments where what was misunderstood becomes undeniable, where what was questioned becomes evident, where what was hidden is brought into light. And when that moment comes, you won't need to speak much. Because your life will speak, your consistency will speak, your peace will speak, your growth will speak. And even those who misunderstood you will have to recognize that God was with you all along. But hear this clearly. That moment is not your focus. Because if your goal is to be proven right, you will miss what God is building now. Your focus is to remain aligned, to remain steady, to remain obedient. Because the real reward is not being understood later. It is becoming stronger now. And look at you. You didn't quit. You didn't go back. You didn't abandon what God told you. Even when it cost you. That matters more than you realize. Because many people start in obedience, but retreat when it becomes uncomfortable. But you stayed, even when it was lonely, even when it was confusing, even when it hurt. You stayed, and that has built something in you that cannot be easily undone. So now, as you stand in this place, not where everything is resolved, but where something inside you is settled, there is one final posture. Surrender again. Not out of weakness, but out of trust. Father, I don't need to be understood. If I'm aligned with you, I don't need to be defended. If you are my defender, I don't need to be explained. If you are writing my story, so I release every remaining need. To prove myself, I release every desire. To correct every voice, I release every attachment. To being seen the right way, and I take hold of something greater. Your peace, your truth, your presence. Let my life speak louder than my defense. Let my obedience speak louder than opinions. Let my consistency speak louder than assumptions. And Father, if there is anything in me that still seeks approval over alignment, remove it. Refine me until my confidence is fully rooted in you. Strengthen me until my peace is no longer dependent on people. Establish me until I can walk through misunderstanding. without losing myself. And from this day forward, I choose a higher way. I choose obedience, even when it is not understood. I choose trust, even when it is not easy. I choose peace, even when it is not explained. Because I know you are with me. And if you are with me, I am not alone. If you are with me, I am not wrong. If you are with me, I will not fail. So I walk forward, not louder, but stronger, not defensive, but grounded, not seeking approval, but carrying truth. And whatever comes next, I am ready. Because this season did not break me, it built me. And maybe that's the question you carry with you tonight. What if this season was never meant to stop you, but to strengthen you? What if the misunderstanding was never meant to confuse you, but to clarify you? What if everything you've been walking through was preparing you for a version of you that is unshakable? And if that is true, then maybe you don't need to go back and fix anything. Maybe you just need to keep moving forward, still trusting, still obeying, still becoming, because God is not finished with you yet. And what He is building in you right now will speak for you in ways words never could.